4thJuly.com for location near you. Freedom Fireworks wishes you a safe and happy 4th of July.
The Maggie Dawn Show.
Indy Dadagupta, he is with the Center for Law and Social Policy.
The Trump administration's agenda is
Thanks for tuning in for the Todd Allbaugh Show today. Everybody wish a very happy birthday to Patrick J. Kreitlow.
Yes, Jerome, happy birthday.
We got about 30 seconds till we kick off our show, which is unfortunately patless today.
Patless. We're patless in Wisconsin.
From the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with our fantastic engineer and producer, Mr. Aaron Zommers on the board. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 2 o'clock on this Thursday, July 3rd, 2025. It is a great day to be Wisconsinite. Welcome in, everybody, here at the world headquarters of the old CM, Civic Media. Nobody calls it CM, but I'll CM. I sound like Trump now, and nobody calls it CM. I just thought of a new thing. Call it Civic Media.
Nobody calls it CM for Civic Media.
That's pretty good.
It's a shame.
Mostly clear skies, blue skies here in downtown Madison, a block away from the state capitol where the midnight oil was burning and then some. Last night, state budget was passed by the assembly in the wee hours of the morning. Apparently, somebody made a lot of popcorn for Robin Voss, and he said, I need to eat that, so let's pass. No, he didn't. I'm joking around. You understand? I'm joking around. Our very own Dan Schaefer, host of, or not host, but our Civic Media political editor and founder of the Recombobulation Area, as well as our news director, Shelly Pittman, and Jimmy Kuska from our news department, all on top of it last night. Here's what happened, Zommers. I was watching Colbert, a rerun, and I fell asleep in my chair, and I woke up, and there were reruns of Seinfeld on, and it was like, I don't know, 12:45, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, oh, I better check it. And I just, as I woke up, here's Schaefer and Shelly Pittman and Jimmy Kuska, they'd stayed up the whole time, and I think the governor signed then they took that, they passed the budget, and immediately walked it over to Governor Evers' office in the East Wing, and Governor Evers signed it, I believe, 1:32 a.m., 1:31 a.m. Schaefer will have it because he was up and doing it. So we have a new state budget. A lot of people unhappy, some people happy. There are winners and losers in these things politically, winners and losers in terms of Wisconsinites. We're going to break it all down with Dan Schaefer here at the bottom, just after the bottom of the hour, because he understands, Zommers, this state budget process, it can be a bit discombobulating.
It can be extremely discombobulating.
So we'll recombobulate with Dan Schaefer at the bottom of the hour. Also coming up today, a holiday edition in hour 2 of What's Worse, sparklers or fireworks?
Or firecrackers.
Or firecrackers, thank you. Sparklers or firecrackers, we'll discuss that in hour 2 on the lighter side. Also, if you don't like politics, that's okay. We got you covered on today's show. And this is real. Red Panda has taken a fall with a major injury. Hopefully she'll be okay. Anybody who's gone to a sporting event, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. The woman who's on the big unicycle and balances like 1,000 teacups and flips
I saw
them
that
around.
the other day. For a second, when you said red panda, I thought you were going to say, like, the red panda, its
No.
endangered species status has changed.
There's only one red panda.
No, I understand now.
And she is, I believe she's recuperating. So we'll check in on that as well. And but we're going to begin with just moments ago, or about a half an hour plus ago, broke across the news headlines here. This by the Associated Press. House Republicans propelled President Donald Trump's $4.5 trillion tax breaks and spending cut bill to final congressional passage within the last hour, overcoming multiple setbacks to approve his signature second-term policy package before the 4th of July deadline. By the way, I'll editorialize, that was a made-up deadline. He didn't have to do it by then. But Trump said he wanted it done by then, so they said, well, we got to get it done by then. And by the way, it was dueling budgets last night, Zommers, at 1 a.m. or early this morning. You had the state budget going on, and then you had the federal budget going on. Like four holdouts. One of them, Fitzpatrick, he voted no on the procedural, so it couldn't move along, and then he took off. And Johnson had to round him up. I'm not kidding. This is real. And we're going to get into this Dan Schaefer a little bit, but it was a little surreal watching both of these budget processes happening in real time early this morning, because the state budget, the state of Wisconsin, they were, the legislature and the governor were trying to beat the clock and get the state budget passed and signed into law before the federal budget. Why is that? Again, Schaefer will help us walk through it. But essentially, there were monies for for hospitals and reimbursements available at the federal level. But if Wisconsin hadn't passed their budget and signed it into law before the federal budget was passed and signed into law, we would have missed out on all kinds of reimbursement monies. So there was this beat the clock thing going on last night.
If you got a rebate for something, but there's a time limit on it, they had to get it in for the time limit for the rebate, or they weren't going to get their money.
Right. Save 11%. Save big money at Menards. It's always on. It's like, oh, you got to do it. It's always 11%. Anyway,
At Menards, yes.
Yes, exactly. So back to the story, the AP wire, the federal budget, the tight roll call about an hour ago, 218 to 214, came at a potentially high political cost, with two Republicans joining all Democrats opposed. Republican leaders worked overnight, the president himself leaning on a handful of skeptics to drop their opposition and send the bill to him to sign into law. Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries of New York delayed voting by holding the floor for more than 8 hours with a record-breaking speech against the bill. I thought he did a great job. I didn't see the whole 8 hours, obviously. But I want to play you a couple of these cuts of Hakeem Jeffries, because I think he made a couple of really great points. First one, Hakeem Jeffries, early this morning into later morning, calling this federal budget bill of Donald Trump's and the Republicans immoral. Here is Hakeem Jeffries on the House floor.
You see, budgets are moral documents. And in our view, Mr. Speaker, budgets should be designed to lift people up. This reckless Republican budget that we are debating right now on the floor of the House of Representatives tears people down. This reckless Republican budget is an immoral document, and everybody should vote no against it because of how it attacks children and seniors and everyday Americans and people with disabilities. This reckless Republican budget is an immoral document. And that is why I stand here on the floor of the House of Representatives with my colleagues in the House Democratic Caucus to stand up and push back against it with everything we have on behalf of the American people.
Democratic leader of the House, Hakeem Jeffries. If you've never been involved in politics, you don't fully appreciate how hard it is to keep your caucus together. In other words, everybody in your party, to get them to vote unanimously on something. It ain't easy, believe me. And for Leader Jeffries to be able to do that, super impressive, number one. Number two, I think his speech, you could take cuts of this and run against Republican MAGA incumbents next fall, and it's going to come back to haunt him. By the way, our friend, our colleague, Jane Matnair, great program every morning from 9 until 11. By the way, Jane and Greg Bach and I are going to be on the road here in a couple of weeks. Oshkosh, Bagash, up in Butternut, and Hayward, going to be on the road. Cannot wait for that. Jane texts in, and I'm glad she's reminding me to say this. And she's absolutely right. Because what Jeffries just said about this bill being immoral, going to get more into Medicaid cuts in a minute. These cuts to Medicaid and SNAP, better known as food stamps, many, if not most, they don't kick in until January of 2027. 2 months after the midterm. So this, I mean, if I didn't care, which I do, but if I didn't care, I'd say, wow, this is politically beautiful. Because what this does is this passes, Trump's going to sign it into law apparently tomorrow. And so this allows the MAGA Republican congressional incumbents to travel around their districts and say, so where are these cuts? Where are these cuts? You know, the libs kept ginning things up, lying. There's no cuts. Have you seen any cuts? And people are going to say, no, we haven't seen them. Until January of 2027. And then if the Democrats are able to take the House of Representatives and things go to hell, then MAGA and Trump are going to say, see, this is what happens when you elect Democrats to put them in charge. I mean, it's politically beautiful. I'm not going to lie about that.
Unfortunately, yeah.
It's a politically beautifully written bill for political expediency. It's absolutely destructive. Americans are going to die. Nursing homes are going to close. Already had one, I think it was Nebraska. I think Jane Gregg was talking about this morning. Saw it a couple other places. One nursing home has already said they're going to close down because of this. And when I say people are going to die, no, it's not hyperbole. This comes from a lot of different places. The fact of the matter is there's going to be thousands of people that lose their health care, probably hundreds of thousands, not millions of people lose their health care coverage in this country because of this bill. But the way it's been written, much of the pain will be pushed off. So, we'll see about that. Have we got time for a little bit of the second Jeffries cut, Sommers? All right, here's Hakeem Jeffries talking about these Medicaid cuts on the House floor.
It's extraordinary to me that as a result of this one big ugly bill, this all-out assault on health care in this country, millions of people are going to lose coverage, thrown off of health care, set in motion a chain of events where hospitals will close, nursing homes will shut down, people unable to get the care that they need to live a life of dignity and respect. And that as a result of the all-out Republican assault on health care in the United States of America, people will die. Tens of thousands, perhaps year after year after year, as a result of the Republican assault on the health care of the American people. I'm sad. I never thought that I'd be on the House floor saying that this is a crime scene. And House Democrats want no part of it. No part of it.
House Speaker
It's a crime scene.
Jeffries on Medicaid cuts, calling it a crime scene. He's not wrong. Independent Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont tweeting this out. 16 million Americans will lose their health care they currently have under Trump's quote-unquote big beautiful bill. How many will lose their health care in your state if it passes? This is interesting but tragic. According to Senator Sanders' numbers that he got from CBO, Congressional Budget Office, in Wisconsin, 276,175. Let me say that number again. 276,175 fellow Wisconsinites are going to lose health care in the state of Wisconsin. I'm no whiz at statistics, but the chances are if you're not one of those 276,000 plus, you're going to know somebody who is. Might be your grandparents, your mom, your neighbor. This, unfortunately, will haunt us here in Wisconsin. And the only recourse, assuming there are midterm elections, and that is not a given, is to get out and vote.
news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you get coverage options based on how much you want to pay for car insurance. And then you decide how to spend the rest of your money because you're in charge. And right now, you're going to pay for groceries. But you decide what groceries. Just keep in mind you're running out of dishwashing soap. But you decide if you're going to buy that soap. Just those dishes won't clean themselves, will they? Remember,
Mark,
with Progressive's
Mark
Name Your
and
Price tool will
Bernisac,
help you find coverage at a
you're
fair
right about
price.
those fireworks,
You're in
firecrackers.
charge. Progressive
But that
Casualty
doesn't
Insurance
stop some
Company.
people from
Not
having
everyone
it.
price and coverage match limited by state law.
I believe my statutes of limitations is over, but we'll talk about that in an hour or two.
We dare you to
Yeah,
compare our American-made,
my dad has a
locally
permit, so we
crafted
get that all that fun
direct
stuff.
mattress. You see, we handcraft every Verlo mattress locally and pass the savings on to you. And every mattress we make is backed by our lifetime comfort guarantee. Save big when you upgrade to an adjustable base, and the more you buy, the more you save on pillows, sheets, and mattress protectors. But you'd better hurry. American-made, locally crafted. Verlo.
It's a party on the patio at the Lazy Oaf Lounge, and you're invited every Tuesday at 5:30. It's just Merle and a girl, and Thursdays on the patio feature singer-songwriter Shelley Faith.
Well, hey, bartender, won't you pour me another?
Music starts at 5:30. It's live music on the patio at the Lazy Oaf Lounge every Tuesday and Thursday. The Lazy Oaf Lounge, 1617 North Stoughton Road in Madison. Find specials, menus, and more at lazyoaflounge.com.
Sugar River Pizza and the John and Gordy Show have both been nominated for Madison Magazine's Best of Madison. Thanks for your vote. To celebrate, they're throwing Sugar River Pizza parties at workplaces around Madison all summer. If your workplace would like a Best of Madison pizza party with Sugar River Pizza and John and Gordy, get to WMDXradio.com and tell us why.
We promise not to embarrass you in front of your boss. Everyone's already seen
they
you
both
do the I am the
want to talk about the
walrus
budget,
bit with the
obviously.
breast square.
Go
We
to
got 30
WMDXradio.com
Thank you.
for all the details.
Wherever you may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Glad to have you along. Zommers on the board. 22 now, past the hour of 2 o'clock on a Thursday, July 3rd, 2025. We're going to get back to the budget federally in just a moment. And coming up after the bottom of the hour, Civic Media's political editor, founder of the Recombobulation Area, Dan Schaefer, will be along, have a half an hour discussion on the state budget. Lots of breaking news. Would be remiss if we didn't mention this other breaking news, very important, particularly for our listeners on WAUK in southeast Wisconsin, but I think bears mentioning, of course, here statewide. According to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, great reporting by Sophie Carson and Claudia Levins, one person was shot and killed and two others were shot during the early morning hours today, including a Shorewood police officer who was struck in his ballistic vest and treated and released from a hospital. I want to make clear this is Shorewood in the Milwaukee area. I know there's another Shorewood municipality here in Dane County. This is a Shorewood in the southeast part of the state. Back to the story, the person who died was an adult woman, according to the Milwaukee County Medical Examiner's Office. Officials have not revealed the condition of the other person shot in Shorewood. Police were searching for a suspect before an apparent chase began, ending in the Halyard Park neighborhood on Milwaukee later in the morning. Medical examiners said they responded to that scene and indicating that someone had died. Other reporting is that the accused or alleged shooter had died at that scene. It's still a fluid situation. We'll continue to update that as it becomes available here at Civic Media. But again, a shooting this morning in Shorewood in southeast Milwaukee, and more reporting that there was a mass shooting, at least 4 people killed in Chicago. 24 minutes past the hour of 2 o'clock. Back to this federal budget being passed about an hour ago, the ramifications thereof. According to Bernie Sanders, over 246,000 people in Wisconsin will lose their health care coverage. 276,000 plus. after Donald Trump signs it tomorrow. 855-752-4842. Let's go to the phone lines. Tom in McFarland, listening on WMDX on the line. Tom, thanks for calling. Let's see you.
Thanks for taking my call. And, just talking about those Medicaid cuts and how people are going to lose their insurance, I was talking with a couple of MAGA friends who are on Badger Care, and they're saying that, well, they're already working, and they see nothing wrong with the work requirements that are going to be put into place. They think that's actually a good thing, until I pointed out to them that the way that they're going to lose their insurance, and they're going to lose their insurance, is because the federal budget reduces the amount of money that's going to be sent back to the states to cover the cost of Medicaid.
Correct.
States are going to have to make up those costs, and they won't have the funds. So what's going to happen is they're going to have to increase the eligibility. So right now, for Badger Care, after this goes through, you are no longer going to be eligible for that Badger Care.
Right.
That's how most of these people are going to lose their insurance. And they were gobsmacked when I pointed out to them that that's how it's going to happen. And I wish I could say that I thoughts and prayers.
Right.
But they were warned. I was telling them prior to the election that this is what they were going to do, and they didn't believe. So at least those illegal immigrants won't get it.
Yeah. As he says facetiously. I get that. No, I mean there's a lot of finding out going on and about to happen across this country right now. The other thing is, and some of this is still fluid, as I understand it, people are going to have to file for eligibility instead of once a year, twice a year. So you have all that extra paperwork and all that bureaucracy and the cost on top of that. So, as someone who spent a few months on Badger Care, it ain't easy. So I get it. So thanks, Tom. I appreciate the call. 855-752-4842. Let's go up to beautiful Eau Claire, Chippewa Valley. Gene in Eau Claire, WCFW The Tap. Gene, thanks for calling. Let's see.
Well, thank you so much for covering this. This is just outstanding. I watched the whole thing, and I thought, oh, man, I hope these guys play some of those clips, because I hope people get a chance to watch it, because it was really informative. And all of the different amendments that different people offered to try to protect the people in the United States, and they were just turned down, and all of them were very significant. And then also there was a little bit of religion thrown in there. I'm glad that he did that. It was like
Hakeem Jeffries you're talking about, the Democratic leader in the House, yes.
Yes, and it was just great, the way where they wear the crosses and tell people how different things. And anyway, it was so great because he did burn up the Bible, and I used to teach Sunday school years ago, and where you're supposed to clothe, the people and stuff. So if you get a chance, also brought up Project 2025 at the very end of the speech, and you can find it probably on public television, on Roku if you go through that. But anyway, thank you very much, and keep up the great work, and I hope you have a good weekend.
Yep, have a great 4th of July weekend. Let's go quickly to Mark in Perdisac. Mark, about 45 seconds. It's yours. What say you?
Yeah, well, in honor of the holiday coming up, in recognition of our Declaration of Independence, I'll remind people that in the Declaration it includes this line: a prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Now, there's a little bit of change there. The leader of a free people is more apparent, but Donald Trump is trying to be a tyrant, and in every case he is what the anti-federalists were worried about, surrounded by minions and mistresses, and now with his ICE troops going out there murdering Janissaries.
Appreciate the call, Mark. Yep, thank you very much, Mark. Yeah, that's something that's not getting a lot of play either. That the ICE budget, the budget for Homeland Security, ICE, is 5 times larger. It really is Donald Trump's own police force, if you will. And I haven't been able to confirm this because there's been so much going on. So I want to say that I've not confirmed this, but I'm just going to throw it out there. Maybe somebody can point me to a confirmation from a reliable source. But there seems to be language in this bill that also abdicates part of Congress's ability to control things to the executive, to Donald Trump. If that turns out to be true, Katie, bar the door. Back after this on the Civic Media Ready Network with Dan Schaefer talking about the state budget that passed and Evers signed into law. What does it mean for his re-election bid? Don't go anywhere on the Civic Media Ready Network.
sports. Madison's real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX. As Wisconsin as a fish fry on a Friday night. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Wisconsin is ranked second in the nation for having the most organic farms. Now, the Food Finance Institute is looking to help these organic growers with a new program called Naturally Wisconsin. I'm Stephanie Hoff for the Midwest Farm Report along with you on a Thursday. The program essentially seeks to boost the market for organic products. Jamie Valenti-Jordan is the Food Brand Program Manager with the Food Finance Institute. He tells us about the types of businesses or services that can work with Naturally Wisconsin.
Within our space, of course, we have brands. That's the most commonly recognized group, but it's not just emerging brands, not just established brands. It's also our supply chain up and downstream. So that's going to be inclusive of our agricultural sector, our agricultural supply, our ag tech, but also our ingredient suppliers that are going to process those materials, our packaging and equipment suppliers that are going to be a part of that as well, all the way through to our service providers, those that specialize in the food industry with respect to, working on legal or marketing as well.
Jamie Valenti-Jordan says you can learn more about Naturally Wisconsin by visiting the Food Finance Institute online. Stick around for more agribusiness news coming your way.
In my County Farm Bureau, I'm more than a member. I'm an advocate for local farms and families. Serving on the board has given me a chance to create real change in our community. From organizing volunteer opportunities to promoting agriculture at local events, we connect our neighbors to the farms that feed them. Together, we're building a stronger and well-informed community. Join us and make a difference today.
A voice for farmers, vision for agriculture.
I like the jazzy music.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin.
There he is, a very caffeinated Dan Shaver.
That's right, very caffeinated.
At Rural Mutual, they help that happen. As the third largest writer of commercial business,
Appreciate you coming on, Dan.
Time to learn your business so they can properly.
No
I
problem.
appreciate your efforts last night, staying up to keep track of everything.
Yes.
Well, it's I'd be doing it anyway.
A little hard to sleep anyway, yeah.
Business news on a Thursday. Local food dollars are getting applause from food processors. In the budget agreement between the governor and the Republican-led legislature, $10 million has been secured toward the Food Security Initiative grant program. This is through the Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection. The Wisconsin Cheesemakers Association says it's going to increase access to nutritious dairy products like milk and cheese, as well as meat, fruits, and vegetables from Wisconsin food processors during a time when food banks are seeing record demand. For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Stephanie Hoff.
Do you know if your article on the budget has it been posted at Civic Media yet?
Yes, the Civic Media, just like the general piece on the budget and all of that that I wrote that we wrote up last night is there. Yeah.
And again tonight, our high today 88. Tonight, upper 60s. The 4th of July will be sunny, hot, and humid with a high of 91. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Temperature now 87.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing
There's
your
that
high
link.
school
I just
diploma,
threw it in the
you
chat.
have help.
Oh,
Find
great,
free
thank
adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org.
Yeah, I'll put that in the
Brought to you by the
podcast.
Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
Years ago, I had I think I had a rainbow. No, it was a shirt. It was given to me, and I wore it because I support all people. And a friend of mine, you sure you want to walk around in that? You know, a t-shirt, people might think I'm a human being that
30
supports
seconds.
other
Thank you.
human beings. I wear sports jerseys sometimes. No one ever says, worry people are going to think you're on the Cubs?
I don't think anyone would think that, though.
Oh, you haven't seen my curveball.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. is a fifth dimension, beyond that which is known to man.
Milwaukee's best.
It's a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity.
Hey man, what about Milwaukee, man?
It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition.
I think God would want us to go to Milwaukee.
And it lies between the pit of a man's fears and the summit of his knowledge.
What do you think about Milwaukee?
This is the dimension of imagination. You are now entering the recombobulation area.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show and the recombobulation area. 35 minutes past the hour of 2 o'clock on Thursday, July 3rd. That intro can only mean that one person is on the other side of that, a Milwaukeean, a lover of Summerfest, at least in smaller doses, and nobody is a bigger Bucks fan and a great political writer than our very own Civic Media political editor and founder of the recombobulation area, Dan Schaefer. Mr. Schaefer, good morning, or a continued. Did you sleep at all last night?
I did sleep a little bit. It's a discombobulating day, perhaps, to be covering politics in Wisconsin, watching the governor sign the bill for the budget at 1:32 a.m., I believe, was the exact time that signature hit the paper. So, lots going on in state politics and lots for us to discuss here.
Now, maybe I got my wires crossed. I didn't know that you were coming on to talk about politics. I thought you were coming here to talk about the big story this morning as being reported in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Pat Connaughton bids farewell to Milwaukee on an Instagram post. He's been traded to Charlotte.
That's right. A lot of moves for the Bucks this week. You know, as someone who lives at the intersection of sports, particularly NBA basketball and politics, this has been an incredibly newsworthy week, and I'm gonna need some time to really recombobulate at the end of it here.
That's what Dan Schaefer's doing over the 4th of July weekend. All right, I kid. We're on. The main reason we're here is to talk about the state budget. So you, Shali Pittman, our news director, and Jimmy Kuska for our news department, all up last night. I had fallen asleep in my chair after trying to get through Colbert. The old man Todd couldn't do it. I woke up to reruns of Seinfeld about 1 o'clock. I'm like, oh, well, look at that. But you guys stayed up. You did a great job, and all of our Civic Media socials updating folks. Tell us what happened, Dan, at the end, and explain this rush to get the budget done.
Yeah, so there, obviously there's a little bit of political news happening today. So along with the state budget being signed in Madison, the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill that Donald Trump was advancing through Congress also just passed in the House this afternoon, and there was a reason for the state of Wisconsin to pass this before the federal bill passed. It meant that it's kind of a complicated. Long story short is that they needed to pass this with a certain change involving some compensation for hospitals, involving some Medicaid reimbursement, and some federal dollars that the state would have missed out on had they not made this budget change before that bill was passed.
So if the Republican caucus and Hakeem Jeffries are there pooping a group, and if Hakeem Jeffries, or Johnson, that is, and if Hakeem Jeffries hadn't held the floor for 8 hours, if this thing in D.C. had passed first and Trump put his signature on it, then Wisconsin would have lost out on millions of dollars of available money to help essentially hospitals and reimbursement.
Yeah, about $1 billion, a little over $1 billion, I believe, would have been at risk. And, never mind that Republicans in the state have been denying Medicaid expansion for more than a decade now, which would also bring about $1 billion every budget cycle to the state of Wisconsin. Never mind the logic of that, but I think that added some urgency, and some of what I was hearing as the budget process was unfolding in Madison last night was that they were watching what was happening in D.C. too, as there was some certain delays. So I think it was ended up being about 12 hours after Tony Evers signed his budget that the federal budget passed in the House. So everything was on a pretty tight timeline here. It kind of frustrating, really, though, if you zoom out and talk about what's been happening in the state budget discussions for weeks and weeks and weeks. They've just been going in circles and going in circles. And as I reported here about this same time with you last Friday on the Todd Allbaugh Show, that Dianne Hasselbein, the Senate Democratic Minority Leader, was finally invited to the table because Republicans did not have the votes to pass the budget with only Republican votes. So, adding her to negotiations, I don't know why it took so long to do that, but, it eventually did, and things moved quickly once she joined negotiations. And Evers announced the deal, what was it, Tuesday morning, voted on it yesterday into the wee hours of the night, and now here we are on Thursday with a state budget.
Talking to Dan Schaefer, political editor for Civic Media and founder of the Recombobulation Area. You can find all of his work both at civicmedia.us. Great story by Dan, Shally Pittman, Jimmy Cusker, entire team breaking down this budget. Civicmedia.us, find it there. And also all of his work at www.therecombobulationarea.news. Type it
You
correctly.
got it.
And you'll
You
get,
got it.
Get you right there. For those nuts of us like us who follow this political stuff, I always like the parlor game of winners and losers. And let's start politically, and then let's go policy-wise and Wisconsinites. You brought up the first one, I think, Dianne Hesselbein, State Senator Dianne Hesselbein, Democratic leader in the Senate, winner.
Absolutely a winner in this. Even people who are really frustrated with this budget, and there are a lot of Democrats in the state legislature who are frustrated with this budget, people are really have a high opinion of the work that Dianne Hesselbein did to get this budget over the finish line. It has been a pretty long time since they have invited any legislative Democratic leaders to the table in any kind of budget negotiations. And, that she was invited last week and made a number of changes. I think, some of what I'm hearing that she has been credited for is the increases in funding for the UW system, the increases in special education reimbursement rates, and a number of the kind of one-time capital projects that emerged to get this budget over the finish line too. A lot of those within the UW system, but also, a number of projects in a variety of different municipalities and counties as well. So, a lot of people have a really, really high opinion of the work that Dianne Hesselbein did once she was invited to the table for this budget.
Where the votes lied for the Democrats, those who crossed over and voted for this. I mean, La Crosse seemed to have a disproportionate amount of state legislators on the Democratic side vote for this. And, we talked about this story in the Hill yesterday at the federal level. Republican from U.S. Senator from Alaska, Lisa Murkowski, she got called by one of the Democrats a cheap date because she sold out her vote on the federal budget for harpoons for fishers in Alaska. I mean, was Brad Paff a cheap date? And Steve Doyle over there in La Crosse, did they get enough for the UW system over there?
I think I forget the exact dollar amount, but I know that they got a big capital investment for a project on the UW La Crosse campus. So I know that was one of the big things that they talked about there. And you're right. Senator Brad Paff was among the 5 Senate Democrats who joined the majority of Republicans in the state Senate to pass the budget. You also had a couple people from the Fox Valley and Green Bay area and also Eau Claire who crossed over to pass the budget as well.
So are those Democrats that crossed over, and some of them are in kind of purple-ish districts? Are they winners then?
I would say so. I would say so because I think, ultimately it was a budget that it needed to get passed in some form or another. And I think the inclusion of Senate Democrats in particular, I mean, Assembly Democrats, they were not at the negotiating table. It's a little bit of a different dynamic largely there. But I think Senate Democrats being able to get a number of things that are seen as really big wins in this budget. There are a number of things that I think people, we can talk about some of the losers in this as well.
I was just going to say, go ahead.
But I think the Senate Democrats really have emerged as probably the big winner in this budget for sure.
On the other side of the aisle, Majority Leader, Republican Leader Devin LeMahieu, and Senate President Mary Flaskowski.
At odds, at odds, very much at odds in this process. Felskowski was one of the 4 Republican state senators to vote against this budget. She gave a pretty impassioned speech decrying Governor Evers in this process as well. But I think, I forget the exact details, but J.R. Ross from WisPolitics pointed out that this was the first time in a really long time that a Senate, majority leader and Senate president of the same party were on opposite sides of a budget vote. So that was pretty interesting too. And I think it also shows that there is a little bit of disarray. Robin Voss might have his assembly caucus pretty much in line, but there's definitely some disarray among Senate Republicans. That's for sure.
Agreed. Let's go to the Assembly. Speaker Robin Voss, winner or loser?
I think he has to be seen as a winner, as much as it pains me to say it. I'm not a huge fan of the Assembly Speaker, but I think he got a lot of what he was looking for in this budget. He was really driving the conversation for a lot of it, and he seemed pretty pleased with the budget as it was signed and as he kind of wrapped things up right before that final vote. And yeah, only losing one Republican vote in this too. Scott Allen of Waukesha, who voted, who is kind of typically will vote against Voss from time to time, but really only losing that one vote and getting a lot of the priorities that they wanted in the budget passed, including that tax cut that they had been talking about over and over and over. About every speech from a Republican Assembly member, as I was watching into the wee hours last night, was about a tax cut.
Governor Tony Evers, winner or loser? I ask you, Dan Schaefer.
I would say it's a little bit more mixed when it comes to Tony Evers. I think there are aspects of the budget that can be seen as a huge win for Evers, particularly childcare. I think Evers really went to bat for that issue. You've talked about this on the show over the last few weeks, how he was saying that he's not going to sign a budget unless there is funding for childcare. So I think that aspect of it was really strong from Evers. But I think he also approached this budget the same way as he has for the last three budget cycles. And I think recognizing the leverage that Democrats had with needing Democratic votes in the Senate to get this over the finish line, I think Evers could have approached this process a little bit differently. And I think that's why you're seeing some of the consternation from legislative Democrats, particularly those in the Assembly, many of whom voted against this budget. And I think that it's a story of missed opportunities as far as a number of people are concerned with what is being ultimately delivered in this budget. So I think it's a mixed results, I think, when it comes to the governor here.
I want to get to the Assembly Democrats in particular who are strong-nosed and trying to lobby people to call their state legislators in a minute. But before I get to that, Dan, let's have you speak to this for a minute on, to your point, that there was a lot of people that said, well, why did Evers, their words, not mine, cave in on some of this stuff, not hold the line on K-12 education? But I kind of was like, look, I mean, there is a point, because I've been in the room with Robin Voss, my former boss, where he'll just say, thank you very much, we're done here, and walk away.
I like your Voss impression, by the way.
I've seen it. Thank you. But I mean, he's very polite, but he's just very firm. And I think that, I don't think this is a great budget at all. But I think maybe it was the best that could be done under the circumstances. What do you think?
I think you're right about that. I mean, this is, Robin Voss controls, the Republicans control. This is the nature of divided government, right? You're not going to get everything that everybody wants. It's going to be a purple budget. But I think the difference of this budget from the last few that Tony Evers have signed, the last three Republican budgets that Tony Evers have signed and taken, at times some creative approaches to the line item veto and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But I think not recognizing the leverage that they had in the state Senate until really last week when Dianne Hasselbein was invited to negotiations, I think they should have brought her in much, much earlier.
I agree that they should include Democrats earlier in the process as well. When we come back, we're going to play a little John McLaughlin with Dan Schaefer. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not at all, 10 being metaphysical certainty that he will run again. Does Tony Evers run for a third term? We will ask Dan Schaefer on the other side, and I will give you the correct answer. Don't go anywhere. It's the Allbaugh Show on Civic Media. These are just opinions. They're just opinions.
That's right.
Great jobs across the state. Open now at civicmedia.us/careers.
Blind Shot Social Club, a perfect blend of cool, casual dining, indoor golf with space for events, craft cocktails, and non-alcoholic drinks too. A hidden gem on Madison's east side. Blind Shot
That was really
Social
good.
Club.
We'll do this. We'll just do that. We'll do the.
Dane County Humane Society offers programs
What am I
for
trying to say?
humans of all
I can't
ages.
complain. I'm tired because I'm Dan and Coach.
Well, I'll answer your question that you teed up there.
Yes. We'll answer the question, and then we'll get into a little bit of the policy winners and losers, that sort of thing. Anything else you want to cover?
Yeah. In the limited time, I probably wouldn't add anything else then. Yeah.
All right. Education, I think it's a big one. EW system, child care, something, but isn't really enough. I listened to some of Jane Gregg's show this morning. They had on the child care workers. It's something, but I think it's only 1 year, right?
It's only 1 year, yeah.
And so this is not like this is going to take you through the next budget.
I didn't even realize that was only 1 year. That's awful.
I know. So,
well, it's only 1 year, but there are some other fixes in there that I think people are pleased with. I have to pull up some of the exact language here, but at some of the there was like a reimbursement rate or something like that. Wonky accountant type details that people are happy with.
Right.
The Army National Guard also stands ready to
oh yes, very good. Thank you, Angela. I appreciate it. We'll get to the Green Bay line item vote on the prison, taking the date certain off, I believe, which I don't fully understand why he did that, other than I guess his rationale, right, was that it was impractical to put a date certain when they haven't even started the project.
Yeah.
Broadcasters Association and this station.
The Maggie Dawn Show.
Madam Mayor, Satya Rhodes Conway from the fabulous city of Madison.
A lot of people say, I don't like politics. It's all dirty and angry and blah, blah, blah. It's really about caring about your community, finding a way to bring it back to people talking to each other about what is important in our place and how do we take care of each other and use the levers of government to do that. That's really what it's about.
The award-winning Maggie Dawn Show at its new time, weekdays 4 till 6 p.m.
Doctors Without Borders is delivering life-saving medical care where it's needed most in communities around the world. From bandaging war-wounded patients in Sudan to providing clean drinking water in Haiti, we're in more than 70 countries worldwide, bringing patients from sick to recovering, from emergency to aid, from crisis
About 30
to
seconds.
All right, thank you. Across Wisconsin, it's 25. Try that again, Todd. It is 8 minutes. My clock is off today. My clock is off. How about Schaefer's? 8 minutes before the hour of 3 o'clock. Going to play a little What's Worse on the other side today. A 4th of July edition. Sparklers or firecrackers. We'll talk about that in hour 2. But right now, back into political conversation with Civic Media's political editor and founder of the Recombobulation Area, Dan Schaefer, joining us live from Milwaukee. Nobody's more Milwaukee than Dan Schaefer. That's my opinion. We love it when you're
proud
here. Proud
Milwaukeean, absolutely.
You should be. It's a great city. For those of us old enough to remember the old McLaughlin Group television show, he'd have a panel. And at the end, he'd ask a question on a scale of 1 to 10. And he'd call people's names out for a brief answer. He'd say, Pat Buchanan, Eleanor Clift, Chris Matthews. So, in John McLaughlin style, I'm going to ask you on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being no chance at all, 10 being metaphysical certainty that he runs for a third term. Does Tony Evers run again? I ask you, Dan Schaefer.
Well, obviously, I have had a bit of a say on this matter. As you know, I wrote a column about why I think Tony Evers should not run for a third term. As I was writing that piece, I was asking people what they were thinking if he was going to run again. And I think the feedback that I was getting was that he was genuinely had not yet decided and was going to decide after the state budget. Here we are, the day after the state budget was signed. I guess I'll go with a 6. I think it's more of a 50-50 chance, but I guess I would lean slightly towards him running again because I do think, he has approached the last budget process and all of that, saying that, with an eye towards running again. It does seem like that's the direction that things are headed, but I would not be surprised either way.
The correct
How's
answer,
How's that squishy middle ground answer for you?
the correct answer is 2. Tony Evers has put in his time in the public service, 3 terms as a school superintendent, state school superintendent, 2 terms as governor. I think that he is going to call it a win, and the main reason I say that, Dan Schaefer, is, in my opinion, this is not a budget you go run for re-election on. Because the cuts to K-12 education or the lack of funding, okay, $500 million for special ed, that's great. But there are school districts, larger ones like Eau Claire, going to lose $2 million next biennium. And there are smaller ones that are going to be really devastated. He's going to lose the K-12 pro-education voting base. Those people, they're not going to vote for Tom Tiffany, but I think they stay home if he runs again. He can't politically afford that. I think he was just ready to be done with this. He was ready to sign pretty much anything, and I think he's out of here.
That's an interesting point, and I do think there are, if we're going back to kind of the winners and losers of the budget and all of that, there are a lot of people in the public education space who are especially upset with the governor's budget and with this compromise. And we heard it in all of the speeches especially from Assembly Democrats last night, talking about how the lack of funding for public schools in this budget is going to lead to more and more of the wave of referendums that we've been seeing. So yeah, I do think, I do wonder if Evers approached this like one last, uncomfortable compromise before he doesn't run for a 3rd term, or if this is, kind of the opposite end of the thing would be saying, hey, people like bipartisanship, people, like a governor who gets things done. And is that the, line that Evers would bring? Hard to say.
I think you see that pathetic signing last night? It was like him alone in an askewed tie. It looked like he woke up from a nap, but he signs it with 3 people in his office. It was like AJ Biaport and a couple other people are the only ones there.
Right.
That's not something you run on, Dan. You don't. If you're going to run again, you do this. You force some of these Democrats to stand behind you, and you say this is only a start. I am calling the legislature back in to refund this, and quickly to this point, listen to Jane McNair's show. They brought this up this morning with a child care worker. The child care provision, the funding that's in here, it's only for 1 year.
A big chunk of the child care changes really only extends the child care counts type funding for another year. I think there's a lot of confusion with that. Another piece that Evers issued a partial veto. He issued 23 partial vetoes as he signed that budget around 1:30 a.m. last night. One of those was to remove the deadline to close the Green Bay Correctional. That was a big thing that people brought up in negotiations too. So instead of having the 2029, I believe, deadline to close, he removed that deadline, and so now there is not a set date for that. I think that has a lot of people I've seen on both sides of the aisle frustrated with that decision as well.
Many thanks to the great Angela Lang tuning in on X for giving us that tidbit reminder as well. She's always great whenever she's on with Dan and other people across this network. About a minute or so left, Dan Schaefer. Any final thoughts on the state budget? Or can Wisconsinites take a little bit of a summer vacation over the holiday weekend now? Is there any big breaking news that's going to happen?
Todd, now you just jinxed it. I was going to say, if you didn't say anything there, I say we get a couple days to celebrate with our family and friends for the 4th of July weekend. But now that you said something, Todd, now I think we're going to get hit with another tidal wave of news or something like that.
I'll be traveling with my Starlink setup just in case something happens over the holiday. What does the Schaefer family do over the 4th weekend?
We're staying in Milwaukee for the 4th this weekend. It's the best time of year to be in Milwaukee is summer in Milwaukee, and we're looking forward to watching some fireworks at our neighborhood on the west side of town here. Probably going to Washington Park to watch those fireworks and grilling eating lots of good food, having a few adult beverages, and enjoying ourselves.
What's your favorite brat?
There's so many good ones in Milwaukee. I'll go with the Usinger's Italian.
I just had a Usinger's hot dog on the grill. Very, very good. Dude, Usinger's, great place there in Milwaukee. Nothing more Milwaukee than Dan Schaefer, host. Why do I keep saying that? The political editor of Civic Media, also recombobulation area. Dan Schaefer, thank you so much. Have a great day down there.
Thanks for having me, Todd.
And,
Be well.
Dan, remember this. if you have a 5th of the 4th, don't go 4th of the 5th. Back after this. That's my favorite 4th of July greeting.
That's
if
good
you have
stuff.
a 5th of the 4th, don't go 4th of the 5th.
To be fair, Governor Evers did say in his State of the State address that it's the year of the kid, not the biennium of the kid. So,
not the 2 year of the kid. All right, thanks, Adam. Appreciate your time. Get some sleep.
Someday.
All right, thanks.
I'll sleep when I'm dead. I'm like Warren Zevon. All right, we'll see ya.
Bye.
Programs that will offset tax breaks for the wealthy. GOP House Speaker Mike Johnson says in the end, Congress and the White House were unified.
We had a vision for what we wanted to do as a group. We believed in the election cycle last fall that we were going to be given this great blessing of unified government.
President Trump also declaring victory. ABC's Selena Wang has more.
The press secretary posting victory because this is a huge win for President Trump. I mean, this could be the most consequential piece of legislation that President Trump signs for the rest of his term, and he will be taking a victory lap later today. He's going to Iowa, and that is going to be part of the process of selling this bill to the American public.
He'll also sign the bill tomorrow on July 4th. This is ABC News.
As Wisconsin is dropping a line in your favorite fishing spot, this is the Civic Media Radio Network.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. The fireworks celebrations have begun. Tonight, if you want to see a show, there will be fireworks after the Mallards game here in Madison and at Fireman's Park in DeForest. Tomorrow, you've got tons of options. That includes, again, fireworks in DeForest and at Warner Park, plus Wannaboom in Wanakee and in Maple Bluff and Shorewood Hills and at the Monona Community Festival. If you'll be lighting fireworks yourself, safety is key. Melissa Kay reports.
Tens of thousands of people were treated in emergency departments last year in the U.S. for fireworks-related injuries. Eric Mackey, MD, an Aspirus emergency medicine physician, said they see a lot of burn injuries from fireworks.
One of the most common things that causes burns is sparklers. They are fun, and I know everybody enjoys them at this time of year, but they burn at an extremely high temperature, and even when the firework has completed, the residual stick from the sparkler remains very hot.
Mackey said firecrackers that explode can cause serious injuries.
Those can have more devastating impacts.
You should never place any part of your body directly over the firework when lighting the fuse.
The other thing we commonly see are eye-related injuries from burning embers or portions of fireworks that find their way into the eye.
Along with the more than 14,000 people treated in ERs last year, there were also 11 deaths.
Some of the other high-risk things are, again, the much more explosive firecracker.
And those loud bangs can have a devastating effect on our pets and on our military veterans who have survived combat. If you have a neighbor who is a combat veteran, please be courteous when shooting off fireworks. Consider letting them know.
That's Melissa Kay. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. Please stay safe this weekend. This is 92.7 WMDX News.
The Mets beat the Miz. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with Sports Baseball. The Brewers' Jacob Mizorowski was off to one of the best starts for a pitcher in the history of baseball. Last night, though, he ran into a little trouble.
Troy and Mount Horeb had
then
wanted to
gave up
talk
a grand
about,
slam. The Mets beat the Brewers 7-3.
He hopes that Evers got some kind of assurance from Robin Voss that they're actually going to follow the budget and not just say they won't spend it.
Yeah, we can, Troy, go the line. We'll take your call here.
Go back here, the next time out here, and you could see he was pushing it sometimes, and his whole body was not in sync.
So now Mizorowski's record is 3 wins and 1 loss. Earlier in the day, the Brewers beat the Mets 7-2. Home runs by Sal Frelick, Isaac Collins, and Joey Ortiz hit his first career grand slam, giving credit to teammate Freddie Peralta.
You see it from the offense when the starting pitcher is doing what he can out there to get us back in to go swing. I mean, the offense usually stays locked in all game, and the process is more important than the results at times, so you just kind of got to grind through.
That's Brewers shortstop Joey Ortiz with Sports on Mike Clemens.
This report is brought to you by Freedom Fireworks, with 20 locations throughout southeastern Wisconsin. FreedomFireworksWI.com.
It is going to be a hot and humid couple of days. Today, sunny with a chance of an isolated thunderstorm late this
Luke
afternoon
Mathers, ladies and gentlemen.
Tonight, our
Look,
high
he
today
left the building.
88. Tonight, upper 60s. The 4th of July
He's
will be
leaving for
sunny,
the 4th
hot,
of
and
July
humid with a
holiday for
high
those
of
watching on the
91.
stream.
I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Temperature now 87.
All right.
The 4th of July is right around the corner, and Freedom Fireworks has everything your family needs for a safe and exciting holiday celebration.
barren
With 20
downtown
southeastern
right
Wisconsin locations fully stocked up with
busier before.
everything from sparklers to artillery shells, thunder snaps to 500-gram aerials. Freedom Fireworks guarantees to bring smiles and cheer to every backyard celebration. For fireworks from all the top brands and specials that can't be beat, go to freedomfireworkswi.com for location near you. Freedom Fireworks wishes you a safe and happy 4th of July.
The John and Gordy Show.
Would you rather sleep in a doghouse or let stray dogs sleep on your bed every night? And this is every night for the rest of your life. Okay?
I would have to say that stray dogs sleeping in my bed. Why not?
30 seconds.
I got the Kraken. I got my border collies
yeah,
sleeping
that's
up there.
Really?
It's like a bed of hair now.
Weekday mornings 6 till 8 on 92.
It's a simple topic or a simple concept, but would you rather is fun.
From the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, and along with Mr. Aaron Zomer is our producer and engineer. Welcome into hour number 2 of the big program, 6 past the hour of 3 o'clock. It's Thursday, July the 3rd, 2025. It's a great day to be a Wisconsinite. From the world headquarters in downtown Madison, blue skies, warm out. It's 4th of July weather. I'm not sure what happened at the opening zone.
Yeah, I accidentally redacted your name. Sorry about that.
Is there something I don't know? Is there somebody new in the chair on Monday?
If you don't know it, I don't know it either.
I wouldn't say that around here. I wouldn't say that at all. As far as I know, it's still the Todd Allbaugh Show. So we got that going for us. A great first hour. Glad to have everybody along. Many thanks to Dan Schaefer, our political editor here at Civic Media. Big second hour in store, a holiday edition of What's Worse, Sparklers or Firecrackers. Going to talk about that in a minute, but wanted to finish up conversation on the state budget that passed in the wee hours of this morning and signed into law by Governor Tony Evers at 1:32 this morning. According to Dan Schaefer, and again, many thanks to our great news department for staying up. You can find their great article detailing the state budget at civicmedia.us. Check it out there. Want to go to the phone lines to start off the hour, 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Troy in Mount Horeb standing by. Troy, thanks for holding. What do you got?
I'm just want to make sure that Governor Evers got assurances from Voss that they're going to spend the money and not hold it up in joint finance like they did the PFAS money and on and on in the last budget.
I think that's a great. Go ahead.
Because writing this budget doesn't do any good if you don't actually spend the money.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And all I can say is I agree. I hope there was some handshake assurance. It seems, I mean, obviously I wasn't in the room, but from the reporting and what I've heard and written or what heard and read is that the agreement essential between Voss and Evers with a little bit of Senate Republicans and Democrats sprinkled in, the agreement they came up with. And again, I've gone through this budget process from the inside before, and the way it was fostered through the Assembly and the Senate essentially on the same day, and Evers signed it into law minutes afterwards, I'm here to tell you this thing was cut and dried before they even hit the Senate or the Assembly floor. It was done. And so
that I believe.
And so I think that they, however much of a gentle person's agreement you want to say, I think that they've said, I'm trusting you if you trust me, and neither one of us better blank it up or they'll be held to pay. And we'll come after whatever side breaks the agreement. So I would hope that you're right, Troy, but who knows, unless you were in the room.
All right. Have a great day.
Yeah. Hey, happy 4th to you, Troy. Have a great Independence Day weekend. Thank you so much for calling in. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. I'll say this. Again, I don't think it was a great budget bill at all at the state level. But I can't give you a better solution right now. My old boss, Dale Schultz, used to say when I was a young staffer, and I'd come in and say, well, Dale, how about this? Well, this isn't going to work. And he'd look at me and he'd say, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. And at first it really ticked me off. But he was absolutely right. And so if I'm going to sit here and criticize it and say, well, it's a terrible thing, nobody should have done this, because I wasn't in the room, I've had a little experience with Voss in meetings like this. There would have been a point, in my opinion, where he would have just folded up the tent and gone away. I think the Republicans, at least in the Assembly, were ready and prepared either A, not to have a budget and let current spending continue, which would have meant $0 to child care, or they would have just passed an even worse Republican version that they knew Evers would veto in full, and then they would have campaigned next year for legislative elections saying, look, we produced a budget, and it would have given you so much more in tax breaks and everything else, but, the liberal Democratic governor decided to veto it. And so my guess is, only a guess, that Governor Evers and his team said, look, a partial loaf is better than nothing. And you've heard me say this before if you're a regular listener, the old Star Trek adage, it's a Kobayashi Maru. It's a no-win scenario. There was no win here. And I'm very disappointed. My biggest disappointment in Governor Evers and Democrats is they made a choice. They chose to hold the line. Their red line, Evers' red line, was at least some funding for childcare, which I agree with, but as Dan Schaefer said, is only for a year. And they made a red line for at least some of the UW expenditures. And any regular listener of this program knows there are a few larger proponents and cheerleaders of the UW system than me. But much of that money is for one-time money for facilities, which again is great. Also, there's a little nugget in there that allows the legislature to oversee professors' workloads, essentially. So I know how this is going to happen. Next biennium, if Republicans are in the charge of the Assembly, they're going to go back through and they're basically going to audit professors at UW campuses, which, by the way, many, not just Madison, are research universities. So it's not just how many kids you teach. You're researching, you're doing research writing, you're doing publications. All that's part of your tenure, which this bill does not take into account. So I don't think it's all, sure, there's some good things for UW in here, but it's not. But so Evers decided to make UW and at least some childcare money his red line. What he chose not to make a red line is funding for K-12 public schools. And I think that's, by any fair measurement, a disappointment of a 3-time state school superintendent and someone who likes to be known or call himself the education governor. And that, more than anything else, is the reason that I don't think that Tony Evers is going to run for another term. Because politically, I don't see how you run on that. Sure, to Dan Schaefer's point, you can run around saying I had a bipartisan bill, but you're going to have Democrats, key Democrats, who are really good at social media and ginning people up, calling you out. And that's from the people that love you. And the other side is going to use that against you as well. So I think the budget was a Kobayashi Maru. I think this is not a budget, and also not just the budget, but the way he signed it in his office with a handful of staffers around. That's not a marketing type of situation where you launch a third term for governor. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. It wouldn't be the first time. But those are my thoughts on that. 14 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock. Should we do the thing first, then go back to some more serious things? I have some. Before we leave, Red Panda is in the hospital. We got to talk about her because a lot of people say, I don't care about politics, Todd, but holy cow, what's going on at Red Panda? And also, we have a great story on if you're traveling this weekend via airline, be careful going through the TSA line. Need to explain that as well. But first, right now, it's time for What's Worse. Let's go.
This or that, this or that. Then, of course, the choice is yours. You can get with this or you
Time
can
once
get with
again for
that.
What's Worse. No prize money involved, nothing to give away, but it is your chance to have your voice heard on all 11 News Talk sports stations in the second largest radio network across Wisconsin, second only to Wisconsin Public Radio, Civic Media. No better place to have your business advertised than right here. Go to civicmedia.us. Our great sales team will be in contact. We'd love to have you as a partner. All right. This is a holiday edition, Zombers. We'll see how this goes. Today's category, timely indeed. We don't have a graphic today because originally we were going to do a kind of a best of today, but a couple of days ago, Zombers and I said, too much breaking news. We got to be, and I'm glad we were because
this was important.
This is important. So this part is not important, but it might be fun. What's worse, sparklers or firecrackers? Sparklers or firecrackers? 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. You can also text us on the Civic Media app. Go to your Apple or Android device. Go to the App Store. In the search bar, type in Civic, C-I-V-I-C, M-O-U-S-E. No, Civic Media, M-I-D-I-A. Civic Media, it'll pop up. It takes less than a minute. It is free. It's what Gail King at CBS calls a deal. We should talk about CBS, actually, before we... turns out to merge now a company like CBS, all it costs you is $16 million. Sherry Redstone, head of Paramount Global, who is trying to merge with Skydance Media, and it is before Trump's FCC being sued by Trump for like $1 billion over these trumped up, pun intended, allegations against 60 Minutes on the Vice President Harris interview from last year. And CBS agreed to mediation, and it was announced a couple of days ago that CBS Paramount is going to pay Trump $16 million. So there you go. There you go. You want that merger approved by my FCC? The price tag is about $16 million. All right, what's worse? I get off track. Sparklers or firecrackers? 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Julie, listening on WXCO, Bull Falls Radio in beautiful Wausau, says firecrackers are worse for persons with PTSD or dementia. Also, for pets and wildlife, sparklers cause more injuries, but that is the fault of the person using them. All right, very interesting indeed. 855-752. Tammy, listening out in beautiful Virginia. Hello, Virginia. I sound like Larry King now. Hello, Virginia. Tammy in Virginia says firecrackers are worse. Wes, listening in Middleton on WMDX. Not much to celebrate this year for the 4th. Tomorrow will be a solemn day of reflection. No patriotism in this house, as what our nation once stood for is dismantled. Wes, that's a little morbid. But no, I get it. I get it. I know friends last year, close friends who went to a 4th of July parade but wore black because they were so down. And that was last year. I don't discount what you're saying, Wes. And I believe that American democracy is on the verge of death? Yes, I do. Do I think we're quite there yet? Not quite. Close, but not quite. But as I said in an earlier program this week, I think that when we say that we're so down, we're not going to celebrate the 4th of July, we're attaching politics to it. We're attaching current occupants of the White House to it. The American dream is still alive. I see it traveling around Wisconsin all the time. Neighbors helping out neighbors. People raising money for someone whose house burned down. People help get their neighbor's boat in and out of the water. They're not asking them, hey, who'd you vote for, Trump or Biden? Hey, you need your boat, you need to have your dock help put in? I'll help you out. That's the American spirit I'm celebrating. It's still alive. Don't make a mistake about it. Firecrackers or sparklers? 855-752-4842. Come on back.
.7 WMDX.
It's the Eco Minute powered by Clean Wisconsin, your environmental voice since 1970. I'm Amy Barrio. The website climate.gov is no more. The site that served as a trusted resource for federal research on climate change has been officially shut down a month after its staff was fired by the Trump administration. When it was online, climate.gov received hundreds of thousands of visitors every month. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric
CBS
Administration
thing.
says climate information will be housed elsewhere on its website. $16 million in state funding could soon be on the way to help farmers improve water quality in rural Wisconsin. The Joint Committee on Finance recently committed the funding for a host of environmentally minded farm programs. After months of work from Clean Wisconsin and its partners, the funding still needs to be passed by the full legislature and signed into law by Governor Evers. Knowledge is power. For a deep dive into Wisconsin's most pressing environmental issues, check out my Defender podcast at cleanwisconsin.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Wisconsin. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
Right now, during the Verlo Mattress Clearance Sale, you can save even more. Find phenomenal savings on 4 models and discontinued mattresses. But hurry, the sale ends soon. Wake up, sleep better, and save at Verlo.
Win a pair of Brewers tickets from 92.7 WMDX and Down Prince Distilling. See the Brew Crew take on the Cubs with John and Gordy, July 29th at AmFam Field.
One lucky listener will win a pair of tickets and sit next to us.
Is that a good thing, really?
Not only that, the food and drinks are on us.
Get to WMDXradio.com to enter Cubs and Brewers with John.
This Katy Perry tune goes out to Trigby Olsen.
Gotta ignite the light and let it shine just on the night like the 4th of July. 'Cause baby, you're a firework. Come on, show 'em what you work. Make 'em go as you shoot across the sky.
The Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network, 23 past the hour of 3 o'clock. That was fantastic, Summers. Trigby Olsen, our friend of the Lincoln Project, his girls drag him to Katy Perry concerts. He's not a fan. And I love the fact that he played that.
Yeah, and then I played that music anytime he came on for months. But because we saw him once a week, for me, it wasn't that like much time that I experienced. For him, it was every time he saw us, he heard Katy Perry.
Right. Right in the middle of what's worse, sparklers or firecrackers? Sparklers or firecrackers? 855-752-4842. Our very own Parker Olson, the great producer of I almost said Up North News. It's mornings with By the way, happy birthday, Patrick Jerome Kreitlow.
Happy birthday.
His birthday up there at Lake Wissota. He's a couple of old fashions in, I hope. He deserves it. He deserves it. Parker is his great producer. Says neither of those are fun fireworks. I guess firecrackers are worse since they don't have any sparkles. All right. I think that's a fair take. My sister Heather, watching on Facebook up in beautiful Eau Claire, says tough one. Growing up in the farm, firecrackers and cow pies were not fun. They weren't. But getting sparks from sparkles, or getting sparks from the sparklers, on your bare arms and legs was also not great. But honestly, cherished memories from those times, I guess I'll go with firecrackers being worse. She also follows up and says, I'm also celebrating the original reason for the 4th of July, saying no to a king. Even more reason to celebrate this year. Let's go. Now, see, we're on the same page. Imagine that, me and my sister on the same page. I mean, I wasn't going to get into this series. Well, first of all, let's do a quick one here. This is Erica McFarland. Erica McFarland on MDX, a new texter. Thank you, Eric, for tuning in. Says, can you follow up on a story? I heard that Wisconsin needed to pass and sign the budget, the state budget, before Congress passed theirs so that Wisconsin could claim the taxes that health providers paid to the feds. That's essentially, you got it right, Eric. We addressed that earlier on with Dan Schaefer. No problem if you missed it. But to answer your question quickly, yes, that was part of the reason they had to get that done and signed at the state level in order to be eligible for federal money for healthcare and rural and hospitals before the feds passed their budget and Trump signed it. So that's essentially true. Thanks for listening, Eric. Appreciate it. John in Menominee Falls on the 4th of July says, I would argue the American dream is still alive for white people. For African Americans, it's predominantly poverty and gun violence. For Hispanic people, it seems to be poverty and being abducted off the streets by ICE agents. I've always taken the view that if everyone isn't free, then no one is free. This has never been more true than it is today. There won't be any celebrating at my house. John, thanks for listening. I get the sentiment. Believe me, I get it. But all I'm saying is I think that when we look at it that way, that we're allowing Trump and Trumpism to steal the American dream from us. You know, I'm getting a little bit like Mr. Douglas here for a second in Green Acres. I need some fife and drum music. But the American dream doesn't live in one person. It's not in the White House. The American dream and ideal lives in each and every one of us, in our hearts. It lives in people in foreign lands that up until recently looked at America as the one place to come for freedom and democracy and opportunity. Yes, there are some yahoos right now, some extremists in the White House, MAGA leadership, most of the Republican Congress, who is attacking that dream. But if we just throw up our hands and say, well, it doesn't exist anymore, then it won't. It's up to us, eternal vigilance, to keep it alive. So don't let those people steal it from us. It's up to each and every one of us to keep the American dream alive. And yes, as Joe Biden says, we've never fully lived up to the American ideal. We've never fully lived up to the American dream. But we have to keep fighting for it. I think there's a lot of us in this country who didn't serve in the military, who are too young to have lived through World War II and the terribleness of that and the loss and the sacrifice. But we survived. And I still believe that we can survive this. But we can't give it up. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Kurt in Madison. Thanks for listening to MDX. Kurt, what say you?
I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with you.
Why?
And this is how I see it. By not participating in the 4th of July, I think you're conflating your argument for starters. But by not participating is really no different than marching on the Capitol protesting what the president's done. It's a function of protest. It's not saying that democracy is dead, but it's recognizing those who have been betrayed by our country and have been swept off the streets. So I just simply disagree with your viewpoint on that.
No, you're entitled to that. I appreciate the call. Always appreciate listenership, Kurt. Let's go quickly to Gordy down in the town of Dunn. Gordy, thanks for calling in. What say you? Got 45 seconds.
I'm glad your sister had the cow pie experience. It harkens back to when I was a young lad growing up on the farm, and we were blowing up very fresh cow pies, and my buddy Jack lit one, and it never went off. He went to check on the dud, and just as he bent over, he got a face load of fresh cow stuff.
That's fantastic, Cordy. See, you get it. You get it. Thanks, Cordy. Have a great 4th of July. Appreciate you. Come on back. Take some more phone calls, some texts as well. We're in the middle of what's worse. We're talking about the 4th of July, what it means to you. We're going to talk about the Red Panda and traveling with TSA before it's all done. Come on back.
Real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX. As Wisconsin is brats on the grill for a tailgate, this is the Civic Media Radio Network.
With standing water in some Wisconsin fields, some conventional equipment can't be driven to do necessary work. Luckily for producers, there is another option. Thank you for joining me this Thursday afternoon with the Midwest Farm Report. I'm Kylie Allen. Talking today with Ben Becker. He owns and operates Penguin Drones, and with his drones, he can monitor crop quality, apply fungicides, and more. He's got the breakdown on exactly what his services entail when it comes to production agriculture.
So if you compare it to a ground rig, you're not running over the crops, so you get some return there. You're not damaging the field with ruts and soil compaction. For weather and getting out onto the field, if it's been raining for 3 days, you can't get a tractor out there, but you could get a drone flying the moment it stops raining.
Ben Becker along with us. He's the owner and operator of Penguin Drones.
The music
For more
I'm
stories
coming in
like
with
Ben's,
is
visit us
in the background
online
of
at
a Red Panda performance.
MidwestFarmReport.com. Stick with us. And
Just
after
so you know
this,
what it
I'll
is.
have a look at what experts say we can expect at the grocery store this holiday weekend.
You saw Derek Van Orden's tweet
decisions
today,
are
right?
never made in a vacuum. Your products, technologies,
So somebody
protocols,
tweeted,
they're all connected.
replying to the press
Or at least they
secretary,
should
saying
be.
17 million people just lost
Introducing
healthcare,
Empower
18 million
Dairy
kids
from
just
Merck
lost
Animal
school
Health,
meals, and so
the
on.
only
Derek Van
full
Orden
solution
retweeted it in
portfolio
all
in the
caps.
dairy
Yes!
industry.
Exclamation point.
Empower is more than just
Care to
powerful
elaborate, Mr. Van Orden?
identification,
What the hell do you mean by that?
monitoring,
He's
and
nothing
biopharma
not
tools.
consistent.
It's about how they work together to
Consistently
eliminate guesswork
intoxicated, yes.
and solve specific problems.
Allegedly.
Learn how at m-power-dairy.com.
I just want him to say what he means by that.
Across Wisconsin in her suburban truck. Thanks to Blaine's Farm and Fleet, the original, authentic, still family-owned since 1955. And thanks to
You know how
Monarch
long that,
Media Design.
Springsteen
The
cut
experts at
is?
Monarch can do everything from vinyl graphics
because
to full
Instagram
trailer
doesn't say.
wraps.
Oh,
Serving
yeah.
Madison since 2000.
Less than
Monarch
5.
specializes in vehicle wraps and
I
graphics.
have no idea.
Keep up with Pam
This
at
doesn't have a progress bar.
MidwestFarmReport.com and on Facebook and Instagram.
You know what? I'll open it on my phone.
Well, it looks like we can
We have time in this
expect
break.
to spend
Then I
more
can
at the
find out how
grocery
long it
store
is.
this 4th of July weekend. The recent
Silly
Wisconsin Farm
Instagram
Bureau
tricks are for
Market
kids.
Basket Survey says the total cost of a summer cookout for 10 people totaled $69.03. That's an increase
2 minutes
of
and
nearly
40
4%
seconds.
from
All right,
last
awesome,
year's
thank you.
state average. The Farm Bureau estimates it will run you just under $7 per
So
plate.
let's
the
use
American
that
Farm Bureau
and,
conducted the same survey on a national level. Their total was nearly $2 higher than Wisconsin's at $70.92. They note that this is 30 cents lower than last year's national average. Follow along with our team on Facebook at Midwest Farm Report as we continue to bring you the story of Wisconsin food, fuel, and fiber. For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Kylie
And
Allen.
then I have the song pulled up.
Download the Civic
That
Media
lived as
app
well.
in the
All right, got
Google
that.
Play or Apple App Store and take us everywhere. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
It is going to be a hot and humid couple of days. Today, sunny with a chance of an isolated thunderstorm late this afternoon and again
Heather
tonight.
says, Aaron,
Our
there's a
high
great
today,
80s
88.
song,
Tonight,
Keeping the
upper
Dream Alive
60s,
by
the 4th of
Freiheit.
July
Did I
will
say
be
that?
sunny, hot, and humid with a high of 91. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Right
You didn't
now,
hear
it's
Mr. Douglas
88.
and fife and drum music?
As an actor and a director, I've had a lot of screenings. But there's one
When you
that's
said you needed
different.
fife and drum music, I
It's
pulled some up
important.
and I was like, okay,
And
no,
it
this
could
actually
save
isn't
your life.
appropriate right now.
A lung
It was
cancer
very similar to that, though, the old Green
You know,
Acres
I
show.
lost my mom
Mr.
to
Douglas
lung
always
cancer
started
when she
talking
was
about
just 60
America,
years
and
old.
that music would come in.
Screenings help
And they always
diagnose
broke
lung
the fourth
cancer
wall, and
early
his
when
wife
it's most treatable, even curable.
would say,
A quick
Dolly,
low-dose CT
where's that
scan
music
is all it
coming
takes.
from?
The go-to for lung cancer is your go-to. Visit goto.org.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
It's National Handshake Day, but I find the idea that you just meet someone and you're holding a body part of theirs kind of odd. Hello, stranger. I'd like to squeeze your hand. Let's have an intimate act here. I have no idea where it's been or how you choose to use your hand in your spare time, but I like to hold it for a while. Unless it's a friend. Look, I don't know why we have to touch each other when we barely know each other.
Civic Media Radio Network. No, it's just not Disney's. It's a small, small world. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show across the Civic Media Radio Network, 35 past the hour of 3 o'clock. That is music, Zommers tells me, from the big Red Panda show. Ever been like a Bucks game or something like that? This woman goes by Red Panda. She's enormously popular. Instagram, all of her socials. I mean, she is an acrobat extraordinaire. But guess what? Gravity won out.
Yeah, it turns out being on top of like a 6 to 10 foot tall unicycle can be dangerous.
It can be dangerous. We'll talk about that in just a little while. Right now, we're in the middle of what's worse. Also talking a little bit about 4th of July, Independence Day tomorrow. My position is that, yes, things ain't good in this country right now for a lot of people. But I simply believe that the American dream lives with each and every one of us. And if we just allow Trump and Trumpism to co-opt that and say, well, it's all over, then you know it will be. Because we have to be able to believe there is still hope. And there has to be a sense that we can go to the voting polls, which we hope is still the case in a year and a half, and make our voices heard. And we have to continue to help out our neighbors. That's America. Is showing community coming. And I see this all over Wisconsin. I understand in people's homes, if you don't travel a lot, if you don't interact with other people, you can, certainly if we just watch some of the news silos and social media, it gets depressing. But I see great stories of human love all over the state every month where I travel. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I want to celebrate. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Rob, our friend Rob Wheat down in Monroe, Wisconsin, beautiful Greene County, texting in on WRCE. So, but we're in the middle of what's worse, by the way, as well. Firecrackers or sparklers? What's worse? Wheaty says firecrackers. Sparklers only annoying to those in the immediate vicinity. Firecrackers annoy a larger area, larger audience, especially later in the evening. Oh, and did I say it already? Get off my lawn. Zommers, what's worse, firecrackers or sparklers?
I'm going to walk through my thoughts on this. Firecrackers, I feel like, are more boring because they just blow up. There's no fun colors. It's like, okay, that was loud, I guess. Or I don't know. They're just not exciting to me. Sparklers, I haven't been injured by one, but I know they do. Like, they put the idea that fire is safe to put your hand right next to in little kids' heads, and that's not great.
Right.
But at the same time, they're still fun, and I haven't gotten hurt by it, so it must be fine. So I'm going to say firecrackers are worse.
Firecrackers are worse. All right. I'll tell you mine in a second. First, our friend Gordy Kopke down in Oregon, I'm going to cut him off because we were up against the clock there right before we went to a commercial. I can't say the B word. It's taboo. Gordy in Oregon says, I married the love of my life, Anna, on the 4th of July. That is what I will celebrate. Happy anniversary, Gordy and Ann.
It's such a very lovely picture from the wedding.
And a dapper Gordy Kopke at that.
In a red, white, and blue tux.
Dressed in a red, white, and blue tux. Happy anniversary, Gordy and Anna. That is truly something to celebrate. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. I'm going to say, and this is based on where was that text from Mark was it Mark in the Sacks talking about the legality of firecrackers in Wisconsin?
Yeah, anything that blows the ground or blows up and or leaves the ground is not actually legal unless you have a permit. But we all know it's not hard to get a hold of those.
I believe the statute of limitations is over. Let me tell you, I've shot off a lot of fireworks and firecrackers in my day. But again, use your common sense. Don't do it in a residential neighborhood. This was out at the farm. There was nobody within a half a mile of us. So, and do it safely and use water and all that. Of all the firecrackers I lit off on the farm, never had an injury. I cannot say that about sparklers, which, either someone laid down a fresh hot one and it with some old ones and you went to pick them up and you get burned, or somebody, is tossing it around and hits your arm or your leg. I was injured with more sparklers back in the day. I never got injured with a firework. So I'm going to say sparklers are worse.
Before we move on from the fireworks discussion, the other day, I think yesterday, one of our engineers, Chris Casper here, he showed me a meme about, we teach our kids, you got to stay away from fireworks. Let the adults who are intoxicated handle it. And he made the point that he wonders how many people going into this weekend don't realize it is their last day with all 10 fingers.
Boy, that's a morbid thought.
Yeah.
I mean, just be careful. The main
he
thing
said
is,
it jokingly,
the
but
main,
still,
the main thing is do it to be careful out
if
there.
you're too drunk to do it safely, have someone else do it or just wait.
Yes, absolutely. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Let's go down to Stoughton, beautiful Stoughton, Wisconsin, here in Dane County. CJ on the line. CJ, thanks for holding. What say you? You want to do what's worse? What's worse, firecrackers or sparklers?
I think firecrackers.
Really?
I got a lot of good memories with my 4 little daughters with sparklers, and you're right, none of them burned their hand, thank goodness. But yeah, happy 249th birthday coming up.
Happy
Quite
Independence
amazing.
Day. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
But I gotta admit, I did hear you talk earlier, about Todd, the frivolous lawsuit against Trump. It wasn't frivolous. If you watch 60 Minutes, they edited Kamala Harris's interview to benefit her.
But it wasn't. Hang on. Just, one quick correction. It wasn't. CJ. It wasn't CBS suing Trump. It was Trump suing CBS.
Yes, and he won. And there's going to be more lawsuits.
There was a settlement, but number one, it was proven that it was edited like you would edit any other thing, and there was nothing edited out to change the context of what the vice president said.
Wrong. If you watch both of them, they're both out there. It was done.
All right. Have a happy 4th of July, CJ. Thank you very much. I mean, I'm not going to call the sky green. It's blue. That's just a fact. So it was edited like any other television interview, and it was not edited to change the context of the vice president's comments. That's just a fact.
60 Minutes has always been one to edit their stuff tightly to get as much information packed in as they can.
And also
but maintain journalistic integrity.
It's extraordinarily dangerous for the president of the United States to interfere in the First Amendment of freedom of the press. And that's exactly what happened here. And Trump did not, quote unquote, win. CBS, basically Paramount Global, the parent company, agreed to mediation. And in mediation, they agreed to settle. And there is no apology as part of the settlement on behalf of CBS. Trump just wanted the 16. He just wanted the money. It's always a grift with Trump. Did you see? He came out with a Trump perfume and cologne. It has literally a golden Trump on top of it this week. I mean, it's like the golden calf in the Bible, but yet all the fundamentalists want to praise him.
It also doesn't actually say anything about what it contains. Like legit perfumes will say, they have a blend with these certain notes of this and smells like that. And there's just like, oh, it's Trump, so you should love it.
If it smells like Trump, I don't want it. Throw it back. 855-752-4842. Dick in Madison on MDX. Thanks for calling, Dick. Happy Independence Day. What say you?
Oh, back at you. Can I comment real quick on the big bill?
Sure, go ahead.
Well, this morning I heard one of the talking heads, and I totally agreed with them on MSNBC. and he put it beautifully. Is it not ironic that on the 60th anniversary of Lyndon Johnson declaring the war on poverty, that 60 years later, it's become the war on the impoverished?
Yeah. That's sad but true.
It's very true. And it was so, I mean, everything about that bill. And then supposedly there's news coming out now that Trump wasn't even aware of the cuts to Medicaid.
Yeah, I was listening to another program this morning. They were talking about that, and apparently what he meant with some of these House Republicans, because he had said that, well, it doesn't touch Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. And someone in this meeting, when he was trying to whip their vote, they said, well, no, Mr. President, this is Medicaid, and he seemed unaware of that. So,
which proves again where the man is. I mean,
right.
He's in some alternative reality that's just, he's like chasing a fly ball in the outfield that hasn't even been hit yet.
That's pretty good. I like that. All right. Thanks, Nick. Always appreciate the call. Have a safe and happy 4th. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. We'll be back with all new What's Worse on Monday with a live show. Tomorrow, Zalmers and I are going to be out shooting firecrackers. No, we're not. The day off tomorrow, but have no fear. We're going to be in with we pre-recorded some new material for Independence Day, taking a little look at history. As we have become tradition on this show for 3 years now, we are going to play some patriotic music, some John Philip Sousa music, country tune or two, and also brand new material in terms of Brewers tickets. Be listening tomorrow, an all-new chance to win 4 club-level seats for a Milwaukee Brewers game to be named later.
And I tell you what, these tickets, they're going to blow your socks off.
Blow your socks off in a good way. Club-level seats, 4 of them up for grabs tomorrow. Be listening between 2 and 4. We'll give you the word. You can still text it in, even though we won't be here live. So tune in for that alone. Also going to look back at some time with our friend Kira Sabin, a positivity and life psychologist. Also, Trygve Olsen and I, one of our trips to River Falls days, and our time spent at the Timber Rattlers Stadium up in Appleton. So it should be a great show tomorrow. Be listening then, and then back with an all-new live show on Monday. I believe State Senator Kelda Royce, member of the Joint Finance Committee, will be in on Monday to take a look back at the budget process as well. So all that coming up on Monday. All right, according to the Washington Post, while entertaining the crowd at Target Center in Minneapolis during the WNBA Commissioner's Cup final between the Indiana Fever and the Minnesota Lynx. I know I'm going to pronounce her name wrong, so I'll say it. I'll try. I believe it's Wrong New, the popular halftime show performer known by the stage name Red Panda, suffered what her agent described as a severe fracture on her left wrist in a fall. The injury occurred just after the acrobat, believed to be in her 50s, began her act. She's 50. She can kick. She can ride a unicycle. She is 50. That's from Saturday Night Live. News agent Patrick Figley said Wednesday via email that the mishap was caused by a faulty left pedal on her unicycle, which he said had been damaged during transit. Don't they go out? Don't they look at this before she goes out on the court? Video of the incident showed New after climbing a ladder to sit on the reportedly 7.5-foot tall unicycle, pedaling a few times and gesturing to the audience, then tumbling to the court. Medical personnel came out to check on New, who walked to one end of the court before she was taken from the floor by a wheelchair. According to Figley, a pair of Lynx staffers stayed with New during an 11-hour hospital visit in which she underwent a surgical procedure. Well, best wishes, heartfelt wishes to Red Panda. She says she's very grateful for the assistance she received, and she's going to recuperate. She'll be back. She's 50. Red Panda. Back to wrap up the show after this on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Johnson is cheering on the Brew Crew.
Troy Mount Horeb says, please don't play that crappy Lee
This
Greenwood song
is the
tomorrow.
Civic
And I made sure to
Media
text him
Radio
back.
Network.
Don't worry, we are not. We are not.
We are not
Honey, the
playing that.
TV's too loud.
What? I can't hear you over the TV.
If this sounds like your house, it's time to visit Madison Hearing Aid Center. They'll help you turn down the TV and the arguments.
Mark in Sussex, I hope you're not on Medicaid.
With
Well, I guess you won't be soon
utilizing
anyway.
AI and a team that actually listens. They'll have you hearing things you didn't even know you were missing.
Well, that shirt looks nice on you.
I haven't heard that in 20 years.
Visit MadisonHearingAidCenter.com.
Cool off this summer at Frosty's, West Madison small batch ice cream shop. Enjoy rich, handcrafted flavors and soak up the sun on the outdoor patio. And if you mention you heard this on the radio, get 5% off. Frosty's, 702 South Gammon Road.
Herbal Aspect has landed. That's right, Madison's go-to cannabis destination now has a brand new location in Sun Prairie.
Wait, 4 locations? That's a high level of convenience.
With 3 Madison locations and now Sun Prairie, a great cannabis experience is always close by. Our expert staff is here to help, whether you walk in, call, or order online. Mention Radio 420 and get a special discount. So stop by Herbal Aspect in Sun Prairie, because great cannabis isn't just a pipe dream.
Nice. I'm rolling over now.
Herbal Aspect.
Keeping you connected to your local community.
I'm
with
laughing
good
for those
news
watching
and
the
great
stream. I'm
conversation.
laughing about the
Here's
next
Terry
story.
Barr with the Civic Media Radio Network.
It's Summerfest's third and final round of dates. Can you believe
I find it
We've again
remarkably
made some
entertaining.
personal picks for you
Partly
to
because
enjoy
it's
the big
real.
gig along Milwaukee's Lakeshore this holiday weekend. Let's start with the music, and some great throwbacks are playing, including
I
Richard
can't wait to
Marx,
figure out what
the
this
band
is.
Chicago, Fountains of Wayne, even Sebastian Bach. Find the full list of artists on the more than 12 stages at summerfest.com. Friday night, Johnsonville is hosting a huge party for America's 249th birthday. Don't miss singing, cake, and fireworks to cap off the celebration. And here's what I call your new must-do. Grab a free Big Win ticket at the gate on Saturday. You could walk away with more money than you arrived with. $1 million up for grabs. No kidding. Wishing you a happy holiday. Until next time, I'm Terry Barr.
This is Chad Spate. Are you thinking about improving your home? At Chad's Design Build, we're proud to offer remodeling done well with love. And our commitments to you and your home convey that love and spell our name. The Chad's experience is structured to provide excellent
it doesn't
communication,
matter how long we
honesty,
keep playing it right
accuracy,
there.
detailed proposals, and satisfied customers. We're also committed to making your home comfortable, healthy, attractive, durable, and sustainable. If you want a
30
quality
seconds.
remodel and a quality remodeling experience, go to
Welcome back to the Todd Show on the Civic Media Radio Network, where it is now 8 minutes before the hour of 4 o'clock. At the top of the hour, ABC, CBS, or James Kelly News, depending upon which of our great stations you're listening to. A check of weather. Could be some storms later on this afternoon, overnight across parts of Wisconsin. Looks like a pretty good 4th of July for you, and a hot but nice weekend as well. Remember, hydrate or dihydrate, as they say. So stay hydrated. Coming up then after the news, weather, and sports is going to be our friend Matt Rothschild, who is sitting right. I can see him. He's preparing right through the glass right there. He is filling in today for Maggie Dawn, hosting the Maggie Dawn Show. So stick around for Matt Rothschild. It'll be a great time had by all. And then Pete Schwaba and Nightlight from 6 until 8. All right, this is fantastic because a lot of Fridays, I know today's Thursday, but it's our Friday. We have Peter Rapine, our friend Peter Rapine from E-Bombs World on to talk about the wild and wacky of human behavior. So this is kind of a supplemental to that today because this is real. It really happened, and I love every part of it. All right? So if you're traveling this weekend it's going to be hot. All right? As George Carlin once said, some people just need practical advice. It's going to be hot. If you're traveling via airline, this is the story for you. According to Vice.com, has reported on a sticky situation with the Transportation Security Administration. A woman traveling by air passed through security in 2 U.S. airports. Both times when a TSA officer waved her scanner around her body, it flagged her groin area. She had no piercings, no medical devices, and her pockets were empty. The culprit? Her sweaty crotch. She posted her experience on Reddit, and other travelers said the same thing has happened to them.
That's happened to me.
TMI's
It wasn't
ours.
specifically my crotch. It was my entire body. I was drenched in sweat. They swabbed the back of my hand. I was like, what are you doing? They're like, we're testing. I'm like, testing for what? And then it was really quietly, they're like, explosives.
In one case, the TSA officer called it a case of swamp crotch.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, that hasn't happened to me.
It turns out TSA scanners detect more than just metal. The technology responds to anything that disrupts the signal, including moisture. According to TSA expert Shauna Redden, an alert may be triggered by feminine products, body fat, and perspiration. These false alarms are why France, Germany, and other countries have stopped using this type of scanner. Not so in the good old USA. So if travel by air and your thighs often stick together, don't be surprised about extra attention from the TSA. Either that or try moisture-wicking underwear. Some people just need practical advice.
Some hot travel tips.
Making a great 4th of July. Hey, I'm going to end with this. The boss, Bruce Springsteen, on a recent concert tour said this about the USA, and I think it does a great job, better than I ever could, summarizing what some of our callers said today about the current state of the country, but also what I have said. This is still a great country because American freedom and democracy lives in each one of our hearts. Don't forget that. Have a safe Independence Day, whatever you're fighting for, whatever you believe in. Do not give up. Here's the boss to take us out. We'll see you Monday.
There's some very weird, strange, and dangerous going on out there right now. In America, they are persecuting people for using their right to free speech and voicing their dissent. In America, the richest men are taking satisfaction in abandoning the world's poorest children to sickness and death. This is happening now. In my country, they're taking sadistic pleasure in the pain that they inflict on loyal American workers. They're rolling back historic civil rights legislation that led to a more just and plural society. They're abandoning our great allies and siding with dictators against those struggling for their freedom. They're defunding American universities that won't bow down to their ideological demands. They're removing residents off American streets and without due process of law are deporting them to foreign detention centers and prisons. This is all happening now. A majority of our elected representatives have failed to protect the American people from the abuses of an unfit president and a rogue government. They have no concern or idea of what it means to be deeply American. The America that I've sung to you about for 50 years is real. And regardless of its faults, is a great country with a great people. So we'll survive this moment. I have hope because I believe in the truth of what the great American writer James Baldwin said. He said, in this world, there isn't as much humanity as one would like, but there's enough. Let's pray. Tonight, we ask all who believe in democracy and the best of our American experience to rise with us, raise your voices against authoritarianism, and let freedom ring.
All right. Adios, everyone. Have a good holiday weekend.